Hello, everyone. This is another Black Conservative. I am Ryan Bowling. Thank you all for joining me. So, what I found out is that a judge actually blocked for just a temporary period of time the Title 42 or the uplifting of the Title 42 by the Biden administration. This is going to be for a limited time, and he basically blocked it. Now, I'm going to read you a portion of this article, but I want to get into something a little bit more deeper here because I kind of talked about it a little bit in my 1 minute video a few hours ago. Okay, this idea of emerging of Canada, America, and Mexico into what is called a North American Union, according to the research of internationally renowned researcher and prophecy expert Paul McGuire in his book, A Prophecy of the Future of America. I wanted to talk a little bit more about something that he talked about in several of his other books and he documented. But I don't want to get into the detail of that because I do believe because I do believe there's a much, much bigger agenda here. And sooner or later, I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat and you'll find out what I'm talking about. So let's get right into this article here. And it says a federal judge blocked a new catch and release policy announced by President Joe Biden's border deputies shortly before they lifted the Title 42 border barrier at midnight. The temporary restraining order was signed by federal judge T. Kent Wetherill of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Florida at the request by Florida's Attorney General Ashley Moody. The TRO lasted up to 14 days and says DHS is enjoined from implementing or enforcing the parole policy contained in the May 10, 2023 memorandum from U.S. Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz titled, quote, Policy on Parole with Conditions in Limited Circumstances Prior to Issuance of a Charging Document. A TRO is an extraordinary measure that preserves the status quo while a federal trial judge is determining whether to issue a preliminary injunction, or PI, explained Breitbart News senior legal contributor Ken Klawinski. A PI then lasts all the way until a final judgment in the lawsuit, though in this case, the Biden administration will promptly take the PI to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit in Atlanta. This order would stay in place during that time. You can read the rest of that article right there because a lot of stuff gets kind of complicated and it's kind of aggravated. It is, well, this, that, and the other. They got to put this in place and put it. Look, man, look, at the end of the day, the borders are loosey-goosey, okay? That's at the end of the day. We can argue that all day. Okay, a judge puts a temporary hold on it. Forget about a temporary hold. It needs to be completely done, complete. Forget about a temporary hold. Forget about all that. What I just want to talk about a little bit here is to elaborate on what I said in my 1 minute video. And I said that I shared with you guys information from researcher Paul McGuire about the idea that this whole Border Patrol thing goes back all the way back to 2005. I'm paraphrasing the words in his book. Back to 2005 when he did a report on it. He said it's actually on his site, www.paulmcguire.com. And he links it to his news site, his website. He links it to that. And I think that it's a CRF, Council on Foreign, not CRF, CFR, Council on Foreign Relations report. Okay, so you can go on there and find it. But whatever the case is, he mentioned something else that I think is very, very important that really opened my eyes. And this is in his other books that he had written. And that's in reference to the fact that the same situation that we're having here in America with the border crisis that's been going on for decades, actually. So that shows you something. If it's been going on for decades, that shows you it's bigger than a Democrat and Republican thing. That both political parties were involved in this. So that shows you there's something else going on here. Now, could it be this North American Union thing? Maybe so. I personally believe that it is. That it's bigger than, hey, we're trying to find more. We're trying to get the Democrats trying to get a bigger voting base. That's part of it, but I think it's a bigger picture too because both Democrats and Republicans are involved in this situation. But Paul McGuire says something in some of his other books. He mentioned how that in France and different countries in Europe, such as France and Great Britain, have the same issue with border situations. That thousands and thousands and perhaps millions of migrants and people from foreign countries have invaded their countries, all right, and have been known to rape and murder their people. And this is what he actually said, I think in France and Britain and some other countries where the border crisis is just as crazy over there, or was at one point just as crazy over in Europe as it is here in America. So if this is going on in places like France, or have gone on in places like France and Britain and others, and it's going on here in America, doesn't that seem to point to something else going on? What does it seem to what seems to be the case? And what Paul McGuire mentioned, and what he mentioned is what he believes, and what I personally believe is that there's a bigger agenda being pushed here. The purpose is to completely fracture these countries' independence and autonomy, to completely fracture that independence, fracture that autonomy, cause as much moral chaos in these countries as you possibly can. Because if you have these people flooding into these countries, and a lot of these people, I won't say a lot, but some of these people are not for that country, and some of these people have criminal minds and want to destroy the countries, when they get into those countries, that's exactly what they want to do. And many of these people do not assimilate. So when they come into the country, they're not trying to learn the country's language or learn the country's worldviews and their belief systems and absorb their beliefs. They're not necessarily trying to do that. Okay, so if you have these different people from different countries coming into these countries and causing all this chaos, then it's easier to create the global government that the elites want to create. But you first got to fracture. You first have to break the country down from within first in order to do that. So that's one of the theories on that, is whether or not there's actually an actual factual theory. I can't prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, but in my gut feeling, I believe that's part of the reason for that. Because when we come back here to America, we have the same situation that's been going on for decades. Why decades? Why does it involve both parties? Because both parties are controlled by the money. Both parties are controlled by the money. Money controls everything. If a politician gets enough money, he or she is going to give in. If they don't have any integrity, they're going to give in to that money. They're going to give in to that money. Okay, if I pay you $1 million to sign some document to say, hey, let's keep the borders open or whatever, you're probably going to, if you don't have any integrity, you're probably going to do it. $1 million free of charge, probably paying no taxes. Yeah, you'll probably do it. So they're both controlled and owned because there may be a bigger picture and a bigger agenda going on. Now, on a smaller level, one could argue that the reasoning for this whole concept of border patrol and border chaos and all this type of stuff, particularly under the Biden administration, is because the Democratic Party is trying to get a stronger voting base so that they can stay in power. I would consider that a lower base reasoning, okay? A lower base reasoning in the sense that, okay, on a lower level, the Democratic Party is trying to find people that will vote for them in the next election, okay? Because let's be realistic. Who's really pushing this open border situation? Who's really encouraging it? Okay, it would be under the Biden administration, right? So when these people come here and get into these sanctuary cities and so forth, when it comes time to vote, guess who they're going to vote for? They're more than likely they're not going to vote for the Republicans, okay? Or I'd rather say the Republicans that are against this border crisis. They're not more than likely not going to vote for them. And that would include all the Republicans. They're going to vote for the Democrats, thus keeping the Democrats in power and solidifying their stay in the White House. On a lower basis, that would be what that would be. That would be the situation there on a lower basis. So you can argue back and forth, but at any rate, man, look, at any rate, America is in trouble. We are in trouble, and I'm praying that things will change, but America's in trouble. And I said this, and I'll say it again. Trump, when he was in office during those 4 years, was a big hiccup for the elite. He slowed them down. If he had stayed in office for another 4 years, man, this country would have been like it was, and he would have completely flipped things over. That would have been frustrating for the elite. It would have been ultra frustrating for them, okay? I mean, because if he had stayed in for another 4 years, oh my goodness. Oh man. So they had to get rid of him. They had to get rid of him for 4 years, right? Yes, and I'm not going to get into an argument of whether or not election was valid or not, of Biden, whatever, whether it was valid or not doesn't even matter, because he's in office and his policies are destroying the country, and everybody on ground level should be able to see that. Unless you living on Venus, you should be able to see that, and you don't have to watch the mainstream news and know that. You living on ground level, so you ought to be able to know that and stop acting like you don't got any sense, like you can't see what's going on. But at the end of the day, man, America's in trouble. We're in trouble. Regardless of what side you're on, we're in trouble. And Trump, I believe, slowed them down. And now they got to speed up the process of what they were trying to create from the beginning. Hillary was supposed to be the one to get in. We had Obama for 8 years. Okay, he was a socialist, and he was, quiet as it may be kept. He was a Fabian socialist, quiet as it may be kept. And he got the country started. Okay, he had 8 years of that to push us into that mindset. Okay, and then the next person was supposed to get in was supposed to be Hillary Clinton. That would have been another 4 to 8 years. That would have been 16 years, let's just say 12 years rather, of radical leftist policies that would have completely flipped America over when they said, but by the grace of God, God allowed Trump to get in office to put a slowdown on the progress. Okay. And I'm not only to put a slowdown on the progress, but I believe also to motivate and empower those who are on the right, to motivate them and empower them and get them informed, to get them strong and stable in their mind and in their spirit and in their emotions, so that when Trump is out of office, because God is sovereign. I'm kind of preaching here, but he's sovereign. He knows that Trump wasn't going to win the second time around. So now he's out of office, the right are empowered now. They're empowered with information, they're empowered with different resources. They can really, really put things out there to inform people. And I think that that's what happened. But it's a hard battle uphill, because when you read articles from the left and you listen to the mainstream media, they're flipping everything that the right is saying. They flip it around to make it look like the right are the demons, the right are those that are the evil. And I hate to use the term right, because, everybody on the right is not always right. Sometimes they're wrong, I'm pretty sure, But the point is that the way I see it, a significant number of people that are on the right are considered to be enemy number one. And the reason why we're considered to be enemy number one is because the mainstream media and the radical left have put us in that bowl, if you will. And that when push comes to shove, the people that's going to be taken to the concentration camps, are going to be the Christians and Christians and conservatives. Because from what I was reading, the people that are actually on the FBI's most wanted list for the most part are Christians and conservatives. Now, why is that? How many Christians and conservatives have posed a real threat to America? Violence-wise. How many have them? Really? Just think about that. They do pose a threat. But you want to know what the threat is? The threat is the threat in ideology. The threat is the threat in the worldview. The worldview of Christians and conservatives is different than the worldview of the radical left. The worldview of the radical left is a one world government. Okay. They want everything flipped on its head. They want to corrupt our children, corrupt the government, corrupt everything. They want corruption because the easiest way to control you is to corrupt you from within. And that's what they want. And conservatives and Christians are in their way. Their worldview is in their way. So eventually down the line, they're going to be the ones hauled away into the concentration camps. But here's the thing. There's no fear on my part. I'm going to start summing the video up on this part. There's no fear, for the way I see it, because I'm going to get spiritual for a little bit here. There's no fear. And here's the reason why. You can't take my life. You can't take my life. What did Denzel Washington say in Training Day at the end of the movie when he got shot? He said, you can shoot me, but you can't kill me. You can't kill me. You want to know why? Because if you just happen to shoot me and my physical body dies, my physical body dies. But my spirit and soul goes to be to paradise. Yes, I believe in that. My spirit and soul goes to be with God right off the bat, just like that. So I'm going to be in heaven looking down on these people that tried to kill me. And I'm going to be looking down on them, and I'm going to be chilling and watching them catch hell down on earth. And then here's the crazy part about it. See, because I'm blessed regardless. I got the upper hand regardless. And let me tell you why I got it. I know this sounds kind of arrogant, but hey, sometimes you got to have some arrogance if you believe in something. In the midst of all that, while they supposedly taking my physical life and I'm in my spirit and soul's in heaven and my body is buried in the ground, the Bible teaches that I'm going to be resurrected. My body is going to be resurrected out of the grave. And my spirit and soul is going to be reunited with my body. And the Bible calls this a glorification. So I'm going to have a new body that none of the radicals can touch. It will be a new body greater than any kind of nonsense that transhumanists can try to push. Okay. And I'm going to judge and rule this planet for 1,000 years. Now you may say that's fanatical, Mr. Bowling. You talking fanatical. Okay. We'll see. I'm going to have a brand new body. It's going to shine literally like the sun. And I'm going to be sitting on the throne ruling 10, 15, and 20 cities. While the radical, yeah. So regardless, they don't put fear in me. I put fear in them. You can't take my life. My life is in the life of God's. My life is in God's hands. So let's rephrase it like this. Even if you shoot me, and I hope that don't happen. But at the end of it, I'm still not scared. Even if you shoot me and my physical body dies, like I said, my spirit and soul goes to be with God in paradise. You can't kill me. So this whole idea of concentration camps and so forth, okay. The truth is going to come out one day. It's going to come out one day. And those who follow this paradigm, this mind control matrix paradigm that's been pushed for us, they're going to see. They're going to see. They're going to see. All this time they've been saying these Christians and these conservatives and all these people are bat crazy and they conspiracy theorists and all this. We'll see. We'll see. Let me end the video on this. America's in trouble. And prayerfully, hopefully, we can get Trump back in office. Because in the CNN panel that he had, which that host was terrible. Oh my gosh, she was terrible. Constantly interrupting him, constantly dogging him out. I just want to tell her to just shut up. But I did see bits and pieces of the video and the conversations they had, and Trump was right on point. Right on point. And people in the audience was clapping. And I don't know if those are people that were, people that, are supporters of Trump or just people that got sense or whatever. But he laid it out and explained it exactly. And he was right on point with what I did see. So hopefully he gets back in office, because if not, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. Get ready for that. It's time for people who believe in the power of prayer, once again, to pray. We need to be praying, and we need to be educating ourselves and informing ourselves so that we can educate and inform others. Doesn't matter what political side. What matters is that you got a brain that God gave you and you can use it and see. Because I read articles from the left and the right. That way nobody can say, "Oh, you just biased. You just read from conservative articles." No, I don't. I read articles from the left too, to see where they're coming from, and trust and believe they're a trip. Okay, all right. A lot of the stuff they say is twisting what the right is saying to make it look like the right is crazy, calling them names. The only. Let me say this. The only group that seems to call people names is those on the left. Transphobic, Islamophobic, phobia this, phobia that, fascist. That's all they do is call people, they give titles to the right, because it's easier to do that. If you just call them a fascist, most people that's dumbed down, they'll be like, "Yeah, you're a fascist. You're a fascist," without even knowing what fascism is even about. You're fascist. You're Nazi. Because if you say fascist or Nazi, what comes to your mind? What do you know about Nazi Germany? You know Hitler and Nazi Germans were killers and they killed a lot of people. You know that much for the most part. So when the left smears people on the right with this old idea of not being a Nazi, that's what registers in your mind. So they don't need to explain to you anything. All they need to do is give you that title. And right away, people who don't have a brain, okay, whose mind has been emptied, will be, "Oh, you're right, you ain't nothing but a Nazi." Because they play off of that nonsense. They play off of people's ignorance. And that's what the radical left in particular tends to do. I'm not picking on the left. I'm not. But it is what it is. That's what I see. That's what I see. That's what I hear. That's what I read from the left. So I read both. So I can see. I can see. But that's just my words on it. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all. I'll see you again.